Hey, John, how are you doing today?
Good morning.
Hey, doing good. How you guys doing?
You know, it's a vibe like we discussed. We're pretty nervous, so here we go. Let's get to it. So, do you know what's about to happen before we start the actual part that people come for?
Yeah. I'm not going to do good at this.
It's okay because, like, if you don't know these songs, it's fine. I didn't know them either. All right, so we are going to be playing That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. Here are the rules. We have 4 songs. We are going to play the songs. You have until, the end of the song to guess either the name of the song or the name of the artist. If you get both, it is a huge flex, especially today because I didn't know not a single song. But you get 3 guesses, 4 songs. Do you have any questions?
No.
No? Okay, well then, we can go ahead and get started. Anthony, song number 1.
The 22nd of loneliness, and we've been through so many things. I love my man with all honesty, but I know he's cheating on me.
I do know this one.
I
know this one, you guys.
Eyes,
don't cancel me. I know this one.
Tells me his lies to keep me near.
I have no idea.
I'll never leave.
I want to give him a hint, man. We giving hints now. Don't be haters. Don't be haters. Okay.
Oh, so I creep. Yeah, just keep
Still no?
it on the down low.
Okay.
No clue.
All right. Okay. So it is Creep by TLC.
Okay.
Do you know TLC?
No.
Oh, this is about to be rough.
It's going to be real rough.
Oh,
it's gonna be real
okay.
rough.
All right. That's where we at. All right. Go ahead. Give him the buzzer.
Yeah. All
All right. It's going to be one of those. Song number 2.
I can't imagine life without you by my side. This is love.
We just gonna let this one play because it sounds good.
That I'm feeling, and I'm hoping that you're feeling the same way. Things tend to slip
You know this one, Anthony?
mind, like how you like to.
John's just like, I don't even.
And
No. Sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Have you ever seen Transformers? Wait, was he in Transformers? He was?
The first one?
Was he in the first Transformers? Okay, bald guy, black guy.
Oh, but the last time I saw the first Transformers was probably when it came out. So I don't remember too much.
All right, this was Lately by Tyrese.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
No clue.
I knew that one too, y'all. I knew that one too. I'm tripping. All right.
Goodness.
It's almost over. Don't worry. Song number 3.
It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top, cruising the streets. I got a real pretty little thing that's waiting for me.
Oh, you know this one. Stop playing.
I pull up, anticipating good love. Don't keep me waiting. I got plans to put my hands in places I've never
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Girl, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I remember seeing Taylor Swift alive.
Oh,
no. You don't remember who did the halftime performance?
No, I don't.
Bro! Okay, that was nice and slow. Nice and slow by Usher. We got one more. Song number 4. At this point, we're just listening because we love Guyana. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, we'll just.
Baby, I seen you with another lady. Just finished having your baby. Why'd you have to go? Don't leave me. Baby, you know I'm about to be Swayze.
He's not gonna know this.
I don't even know that. I was like, hold on.
Why'd you have to go? Don't leave me. What about you? What about me?
Oh, Total.
What about us?
All right. So I didn't know that one. That one was What About Us by Total. All right. Well, you got 0 out of 4, but that's okay. You're amongst good company. You are not the first. You will not be the last. So congratulations. Shout out to Gianna for providing the vocals as usual. If y'all are not already following her, go follow her at Destination Gianna. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get started with the reason people are actually here. So if it's your first time, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. My name is Jordan, aka Jay, aka The Chosen One, aka Big Stepper, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Tiffany B. We're excited that you're here with us today for another episode of the Stats on Stats podcast, where we get to talk to leaders in the cyber IT technology spaces. Speaking of leaders, we have someone with us today, and he is going to introduce himself. Quickly tell us his name, where he's from, where he is originally from, what he does, and I'll let him take it away.
Yeah, hey, I'm John Althouse. I grew up in Front Royal, Virginia, small town, and I now live about an hour away, still in Northern Virginia, and around the Leesburg area, I suppose. And what I do now is I'm a co-founder of a small startup called FoxIO.
All right, everybody knows who you are now, know a little bit about you. So please go ahead and tell everybody what your origin story is and how you got into what you're doing now.
So yeah, let's go back to high school. I was always into computers, but what got me into cybersecurity was when I was in high school. I was with I didn't play sports. I was in the computer club, and we founded the computer club. This is early 2000s, very early 2000s. And so the computers were locked down with passwords and stuff, and all we wanted to do was play video games. So we figured out ways of hacking into all the computers so that we could have access to everything. And and that's what we did. So we hacked all the computers in the school, and we had full access to everything. We had the ability to do whatever we wanted. So what we did with this access was we installed Counter-Strike on the school server so that we could play it from any computer in the school whenever we wanted. That was yeah. But this was a long time ago. It was a different world back then, where like everyone's like, computers, how did these things work? So luckily, the school was, we told them about it because we were like, hey, we figured out all these vulnerabilities, all these holes. Hacking was like new, and they were just grateful. They were like, awesome. Do you guys know how these things work? Just like figure out how to like secure things. And so we did, and so we helped them, and we came up with some pretty cool things to like help the school out. And we were, honestly, I guess we were just hacking just to see if we could. Like, it was a challenge. Like, oh, I can't get there. Well, let's figure out a way. So, that was good. You couldn't do that today.
Yeah, definitely not.
I'm not telling anyone to go for this to be their origin story, because it would work out very differently. Back in the very early, 2000s, it was a different world. So then I did a bunch of IT work, help desk, usual, kind of tech jobs. I worked for Server Beach, and fun fact, I built the first YouTube server while I was working at Server Beach. Yeah, that's where YouTube, when they first became a company, they purchased their servers from Server Beach, which was like this white box, like server hosting company.
Wait. Hold on. John, let us see the rest of your house.
I was just a data center technician. So I had nothing to do with YouTube, but they would put in an order for I remember the first order, it was for 6 servers, and we had to manually build these servers, and then we put them up on IKEA racks and connected them to the network, and that was the data center. But I remember they were ordering like 6, and then 12, and then 24, and then 48 servers, and then they were ordering entire rows of server racks, and I was like, what is this YouTube thing? How is this gonna work? Like, I don't understand. It's never gonna be as big as like E-Bombs World, so I don't understand.
What is that? What is that?
Pre-YouTube,
Okay.
pre-YouTube. But so I did that. I was a data center tech, working like nights and weekends. And then did more tech jobs, and eventually, started at Symantec. That was my first cybersecurity job. Worked at Symantec for 2.5 years. I won the Symantec Cyber War Games competition, and which was like an internal pen testing competition, and that's what got me the job at Salesforce. And I worked at Salesforce for 10 years. Became the director of threat detection over there. Before leaving, bounced around a little bit here and there, and then started my own company. And so that's how I got here.
Busy. Jeez. Yeah, busy.
I have questions real quick.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so I guess my first question is, how did you not know Usher if you were in high school in early 2000s?
Yeah, so I listened to a lot of punk music. That was my that was my genre of choice back then. And you can see how they were in different sections of the record store.
Okay, fair enough. And my next question, all right, you were doing a lot in high school. How did you end up getting so knowledgeable to get to a point where you were like finding vulnerabilities? How did you get knowledgeable by the time you were in high school?
Just playing around, and trying to figure it out, and reading books and looking stuff up on the internet until we figured it out. And we had our computer classes in high school, and so as we were going through those courses of here's how all the computer systems and networks work, we were thinking, I bet we could use that to get access to this. those sort of things.
Were you like going back and forth on MySpace with Elon?
I had a MySpace. That's how I met my wife, actually. It was on MySpace.
Really?
Yeah, long time ago.
That's dope. But yeah, to me, I'm just like, you're in that category of people. You were like on AOL going back and forth with Elon, like, hey, like, dude, did you try this? Did you try that? That's crazy. Like, I don't know. There's something about people who are like humble flexing. You're humble flexing. That's crazy. That's dope.
Okay, so
I don't know.
Well, you're doing a lot, and with that, I hear you went from hacking, breaking into stuff, to defending stuff, and now I do know that you're making solutions, correct?
Yeah. So at Salesforce back in 2017, I created this thing with two other guys at Salesforce, Josh Atkins and Jeff Atkinson. We created this thing called JA3. And it was a TLS fingerprinting tool, essentially. And it allowed you to listen to network traffic and be able to tell what was communicating over TLS. So even though the traffic was encrypted, you could tell, like, this is Chrome, this is Steam, this is Firefox, this is malware, this type of malware, or whatever it was. So that became pretty popular, and it ended up getting built into everything. So like AWS, Google products, Microsoft products, Cloudflare, if it deals with network packets, it probably has Jaw4 built into it. And so that was, like, I guess, the beginning of like creating something and seeing how impactful it could be to the industry and how helpful it could be. And so I was like, well, I got other ideas. So I wanted to keep creating things. So I ended up creating another thing at Salesforce called JARM. That was with Andrew Smart, RJ Nunnally, and Mike Brady, and Caleb Yu helped out a bunch. And that was active TLS server fingerprinting. So this was like actively scanning servers on the internet and fingerprinting them so you could tell what they were running. And that got built into a bunch of stuff, Palo Alto tools and Rumble and a whole bunch of Census and all the internet scanners showed in. And so these things were pretty successful. They were all open sourced, and so then people were coming to me like, hey, what's next, John? Like, I want to, what are you going to do next? We got all these other problems, and they're looking for like new updated solutions. And so, eventually that kind of led to creating JA4 and my company, so that I can do this full time, just create solutions full time.
What stood out to you that led to you identifying that need, that gap for Jaw4?
Yeah, this is a great question. At Salesforce back then, and in 2016, 2017, we had an adversarial red team. So I guess the common thing now that everyone is doing is like purple teams instead of red teams. Yeah, purple teams where you collaborate, you work together. This was not that. This was like old school adversarial red team where it was like red versus blue. And we didn't know what they were doing. And they were just hacking in, destroying everything in the most spectacular way. And we had to figure out ways of preventing that. And so that's where Jaw3 came about. So the first thing that they did is they were doing, for their command and control channels, they were doing reverse SSH shells. And then I came up with a way to detect that with W. And so then they were like, okay, then we'll do reverse SSH shells over TLS. I was like, how are we going to detect that on the network? And so that's why we created Jaw3, was just to defeat this adversarial red team. So because of that, I look at that sort of having an adversarial red team as not a bad thing. It can really push your team to like come up with really innovative solutions. Yeah, that was fun. That was good times.
Yeah, that's facts. That's crazy.
Yeah. Can you share any moments that were, that you felt were, I guess, just moments that you felt particularly proud of what you were doing?
He's like, every moment when I wake up and take a breath, I'm proud to be me.
So
no, I'm always just trying to like what's the latest problem? How do I solve that? How can I figure that out? And how can I do so in a way that just like, helps everybody if I can. Though I will say, let's see, I'll share another Salesforce story for the things that I helped create at Salesforce, the Jaw3 and JARM fingerprinting methods. That ended up getting built into so many tools. When I was first working on them, my management chain didn't want me working on them. They were like, I don't know if we should be spending time on this. We got all these other things that we want to get done. And I'm like, no, this could be really impactful. This could be awesome. And they didn't really like it. They didn't really see it. So they didn't want me working on it. So I did it anyway. And then it was done and we released it. And then all of, a lot of Salesforce customers started implementing it into their products and tools. And they were all referring back to Salesforce being like, look at this amazing thing that Salesforce is doing. Look how amazing their security team is. So then, so then like management chain comes back and they're like, hey, that was really good. Glad we worked on that. And I guess that moment where they were like, oh, this was a great idea. Good job, John. That's when I was like proud of it. I was like, all right, sweet.
I dig that. That's tight.
And you've been like with your project, and I guess long before FoxIO, you were also doing presentations, and you have kind of a unique style with the way that you present the material. So could you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, I ended up developing a pretty unique presentation style, like for my slides that I guess people who have seen my talks tend to enjoy and expect now. And so what it is it's basically a bunch of stick figures and mouse drawn memes and images and stuff. And it looks extremely unprofessional, but it somehow still conveys like enough information so that everyone gets it. Yeah, that all started when I was going to do presentations on Jaw3, and I did my normal presentation deck that everyone else would do, which is just to take memes and GIFs off the internet and throw them in a bunch of slides and along with some information. And then we had to get all of our presentations approved by Salesforce PR and all that. And they would look at it and they would be like, is this meme copyrighted? And I'm like, I have no idea. And then if it could be copyrighted, then you can't use it. And I was like, okay, I'll just draw my own then. That way I know that I drew it and it can't be copyrighted.
Facts.
So yeah. So I did that, and at the first like presentation that I did, people were like, we need more of these mouse drawings. Like there has to be a lot more of them. And so then I started doing more of them, and now my slide decks are basically like a flip book of
that's dope,
of these horrible mouse drawn images, but conveys the message.
That's fire. So we're gonna peer pressure you. We're peers. We're going to peer pressure you, right? Because something that a lot of people don't know, I went to a conference, and I actually only went to this threat intelligence conference because I wanted to see you present. Yeah, literally. That was literally and I had never been to Austin. I'm not going to cap. I also wanted to go to Austin. But I wanted to see you present, and because I'm such a big fan of Log Slash, huge fan, which I would like for you to talk about that a little bit. But I didn't end up getting to see you present because I got sick. So as I was walking past, I did my fangirl thing. I love Log Slash, bro. See you later. Okay, anyway, all that to say, we are going to peer pressure you into, can you give us a little demo on your presentation style at all? And
okay.
Afterwards, can you talk a little bit about Log Slash?
That is him. I recognize that picture.
So this is how I start my slides. So some of the best advice that I received when starting off and figuring out how to present at conferences, this came from W. Selesky when I worked with him at Salesforce. So I would do my like dry runs in front of him, and so I put together my first deck, and of course, like the first couple slides is like the about me, who I am, and what I do, and how to contact me, and all that sort of stuff. And he just heckled me the whole way through, which was just so valuable because it really pushed me to figure things out and think differently. And it was so much fun. But yeah, so my first slide is like all about me, and he's like, nobody cares. But he's kind of right. The point that he was making was that people care who you are if you give a good presentation. Because at the end of that presentation, they're like, oh, that was really great. Who is this guy? How do I contact him? But if you do your about me slide at the beginning, they don't remember that, and now it's too late. And so based on that experience, what I do is I start off my presentation with just like, hi, I'm John. That's me, a self-portrait. And then I do my about me slide at the end and how to contact me and all that sort of stuff at the end of the slide deck.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's this. And hi, I'm John. That's me. So then I would, go through this, do you struggle with detection? Do you long for meaningful network metadata? And then I go through, today, like what I'm going to show you, what I'm going to be talking about so that the audience knows what to expect, how to detect and prevent, a whole bunch of malware, how to find the C2 servers, reverse SSH shells, session hijacking, API secrets. These are basically all of the problems that everybody has. And then I'm like, I'm going to show you how to solve all of those over the next 45 minutes. And I have 250 slides or zoom through. Yeah. Going back in time, talk about JARM, which we already talked about and the things it was built into, and then Jaw3 and the things that it was built into. And then I go into, Jaw4 network fingerprinting suite, which is a whole suite of network fingerprints that are built into a whole bunch of tools, open source and vendor products now. But so then I go into, this is my network diagram to give everyone a background, to a refresher of how TLS works, which is first, your client on the corporate network, is trying to connect to a server on the internet in AWS or something. First it sends a send packet, server responds with a SYN-ACK, then client sends an ACK. And then it sends a TLS client hello packet saying, hey, I want to talk in TLS. And if the server is listening on TLS, it will respond with its hello packet along with a X509 subject and issuer. That's how TLS is set up. But at least that's how it used to work, because that was TLS 1.2. So now we're on TLS 1.3. So this is how that works. Send, SYN-ACK, ACK, hello, hello. And then it's encrypted, so there's no more certificate there. At least that's how it used to work, because that was HTTP 2. Google just came out with HTTP 3, which is over quick. And here's how that works. It's all over UDP now. So instead of the TCP three-way handshake, it's just a UDP init packet, which includes the client hello inside of that init packet. And then the server responds with its hello and inside of a UDP init packet. And then there's a little bit of back and forth. And at some point it becomes encrypted. At least that's how it used to work. Google's just come out with extension randomization on Chrome with encrypted client hellos and over Cloudflare. And I'm like, whatever. And so anyways, that's I guess that's an intro to how I do my presentations, and I just kind of dive in on, exactly what the packets look like and fingerprinting methods, and you get an idea of it's just a slideshow. It's a flip book.
Yeah, you did this whole thing by yourself?
Yeah.
I feel like that took forever.
Oh yeah, it takes forever to put these presentations.
I was gonna say that's a lot of work.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I've never been like, oh, this PowerPoint is actually interesting. Like, this is actually really good.
Oh, thanks. Even though it's just black and white and some mouse drawings, but it kind of became my style. It works.
Yo, for those listening, if you're not watching this on YouTube, run it back, because this is it. This is fire. This is dope for sure. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's tight. Like I genuinely, I have a terrible attention span. I am not bored. So this is really good.
Yeah. Oh, it just gets, we're probably at slide like 100 right now, and it just continues going down this rabbit hole of flip book.
That's crazy. Yeah. I like that. That's different. I don't know how many other people have the persistence to do that though, because that looks like it took you a long time.
It does. It does take a long time to put it together, but I've developed this like rule of thumb where, as I'm like drawing some sort of diagram to explain what I'm trying to do, if I laugh while I'm drawing it, then it stays in.
I like that. That's tight. That's a good measure. Because I know you've shifted a little bit towards other things now. But do you mind telling the folks about Logslash a little bit? Because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. So Logslash, the reason why I developed Logslash was that a lot of companies had this problem. They were all using Splunk or something like it, and they had too much data, and so Splunk was getting really expensive. And so I came up with this idea of taking logs where, let's say you have 100 log lines over, a 1 minute period that all say basically the same thing. Bob's connecting to Gmail over port 443 or whatever. And every time he clicks on a new email, it creates a new log for Bob connecting to Gmail. It's like a network log. And so because they're all basically the same, the only thing that's different are like the bytes and the timestamp. What this system does, you would feed all those logs into Logslash, and Logslash would essentially deduplicate them down into one log stream. So one log. So instead of 100 logs saying that Bob went to Gmail, you have one log that said Bob went to Gmail 100 times. And then it would put the things that were different into arrays so that, you send this one log into Splunk instead of 100 logs, you send the one log into Splunk. But we ended up developing a plugin on top of Splunk so that when you searched across that one log, it would expand it back out into 100 logs at search time. So instead of storing 100 logs and searching across 100 logs, you store one log, search across one log, way faster, way more efficient, way cheaper. But your view, when you search across it, looks exactly the same, no difference. No data loss. It's just the 100 log lines like they were originally. It was pretty awesome. It worked pretty well. It worked really well, actually. But nobody cared. I think you cared the most. Yeah, so I was like, this is awesome. Like, who wants to run it? And everyone's like, we're already leaving Splunk, so I guess it doesn't matter. And, everyone's going into data lakes, and data lakes are like, send us as much logs as you want. It's free or something like that. And so it didn't take off. Yeah. So that's when we pivoted to Jaw4 and Jaw4 Plus network fingerprints. Because and this is what Andrew Morris told me. He was like, just give the people what they want. What do they want, John? And I'm like, well, they want new network fingerprints and a fingerprint database. And he's like, build that. Okay. And he was right. He was absolutely right. Because it's very helpful, very valuable, and people are using it and they're loving it.
Do you think that advice has shifted like how you look at creating solutions from now and in your future? Like, how do you approach some new solution that you plan on implementing?
The way that I suppose I'm approaching it now, and kind of have been approaching it, is what's the biggest challenge in the industry right now? What is everyone worried about, or those sort of things? And so then I try to solve them, but I try to solve them in the most simple, like elegant way possible. So rather than creating like, you know, some big AI LLM or something like that, which would sound really cool, I try to like come up with very small, specific solutions that just work. So I suppose that's the philosophy there.
Gotcha.
I have two questions. My first question is, can I have a log/slash t-shirt? Do you have some, or?
I can make some, no, but
Okay.
yeah, let's put something together.
I'm just saying, I'm, throwing it out there. I'm really serious about it though. I'm not kidding. And then my next question is, it's kind of weird, but I really want to know, and we've never asked this question before. What does your brainstorm process look like? Like from the minute you identify a problem to you coming up with a solution, like what is your workflow? What's your flow state?
Yeah, that's a good question. What is it? Because I do it, but I don't think about it. I suppose I just get the data that I need and I just start playing around with it. So like with the network fingerprinting, I want to be able to identify, applications and malware. And so then I just get PCAPs of applications and malware, and I just start running through the PCAPs and Wireshark, like what is different between, normal application and this malware, and like why? What are the different like things? So one of the network fingerprinting methods is Jaw4 SSH. It's a fingerprint of the SSH session. So not of the SSH client or the server, but of like the session itself, like what's happening inside this session. And so, one thing that red teams do and that some threat actors do is they do these reverse SSH shells. So it's an SSH connection out to the internet to like some bad guy server, and then they connect through that existing SSH session back into the target environment. This bypasses the firewall. So I'm looking at those packets. I create this reverse SSH session. I'm looking at these packets, and I can see that it's a reverse SSH session. I can see how it looks different than a normal session. But then it's like, how do I distill what I'm seeing and how I can tell down into a very simple string, like a log line that could just get logged, that can trigger an alert in a SIM or something like that. And so then I'm just working backwards from there, trying to figure that out exactly what would work. And the solution for that was pretty awesome. I was this goes back to the conversation we were having before, when just walking away allowed me to come up with the solution. I went to lunch, and as I was driving to lunch, it was like, it just popped in my head. And the solution to that was that the side of the connection that is making the requests sends an ACK packet, whereas the side receiving the requests doesn't send an ACK packet. And it is that fact that allowed me to come up with a solution where we could count who's sending ACK packets and who is not. And that's how you can know which side is doing the requests. And so when the server is sending all the ACK packets to the client over an SSH session, that means the server is doing the requests. Server's the side doing the typing. And that's just like, it was awesome. So
since you started FoxIO, it's 2023, right?
Yeah. It's like September was when we really started going, and that was around the time when I started doing this full time.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about like any partnerships, any work you've been doing with your company since you guys have started? Yeah,
so it was helpful in my case that I had already worked on things in the industry before, like Job3 and JARM, and so they were already built into a bunch of tools that people were using. So I'd already had relationships with different vendors, and so they already knew the things that I would help create, and they were already using them, and so that made it really easy to just be like, well, here's the next thing. And they're like, great. So they're all excited about it, and so those partnerships, that just knowing people in the industry. I think for cybersecurity especially, And this works for, starting a company, but also just being an individual contributor. It's not what you know, it's who you know that matters most. And so what you know matters, but who you know matters a lot. It's those connections that you make where you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, hey, you should talk to this other person, talk to the other person. Oh, you should talk to this other person. And so you meet all these people and you end up building this, group of professionals that you just like to work with and that you trust. And those become partners. And that's how I met my co-founder. That's how I met you, Jordan. Like that's why I'm on this call, is because we went to a conference and we just met each other at a social thing and talked about your podcast, and we were like, let's do it. Yeah. So yeah, meeting people is huge in this industry.
Are you allowed to say, like, because right now Jaw4 is being used, Jaw4 Plus is being used right now. Are you allowed to say kind of like what organizations are currently leveraging it and any interesting use cases at all? Are you allowed to share that at all?
Yeah, I can share that. So that's actually on our GitHub. So I'll just run through it because everybody who's using it, I add to the GitHub. So let me just run through the list of tools that it's built into right now. So there's a Wireshark plugin, Zeek, Archemy, Suricata, Gray Noise, Hunt, DriftNet, Darksail. There's some Golang versions of it. It's coming to Enzyme, NetResX tools, Nginx, F5, their big IP tools. Team Kaimaru is running it. NetQuest, Census, Netrix, Cloudflare, Fastly.
John, let us see the rest of your house, boy. Let us see the rest of your house.
So it's getting implemented into a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's pretty exciting.
Are you allowed to share one really cool use case?
There's one really cool use case that I can't talk about.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I can't. I'll just say that government agencies, you name 3-letter agencies, they were some of the first adopters to start putting this into their systems and using it, and they're using it to great effect, and it's pretty awesome. So I guess that's what I could say. And if they're using it, shouldn't everybody?
That's fact. I feel like there's a what was it, the Kendrick diss track where he has like this picture of like allegedly Drake's house, but it's like this mansion that takes up like 4 miles. I feel like that's actually John's house.
No, it's a startup. It's all, this is the very beginning of everything. It's a big risk. Kind of dumped everything into the company, but when you have something that you believe in, you just gotta go and start, see what happens. So we're at the beginning stages here, but the feedback's been really positive. People are excited. So this is it's an exciting journey. This is my first time doing any sort of startup thing. So yeah, I don't have all the answers, and I wouldn't say it's successful yet, but it seems to be going in the right direction. I'm excited.
What do you feel like from the experiences you've had right now? Somebody walked up to you and said, hey, John, I really love what you're doing. I'm interested in getting to where you are. What is your elevator pitch for them to say, this is my advice to you? Yeah,
I would say when it comes to like starting a company, starting a startup, the hardest part is starting. So I'd say you just gotta start. Once you get started, you can start to figure things out from there. Mm-hmm. But I'd almost say starting is more important than, figuring out your brand or even your total business plan or any of that. Like you'll figure that stuff out later. But the really hard part is just getting going. But once it's going, then it's a lot easier to figure that stuff out from there and figure out what's important.
I'm actually going to lean into that same vein, but deviate a little bit. So high school student walks up to you, looks just like you, almost like your twin or something, looking in the mirror. All right. This kid walks up to you, says, hey, John, I see everything that you're doing in the industry. I want to get into cybersecurity. What advice do you give that kid?
Go to conferences. That's where I'd start, and meet people. Like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know that matters most. But still, what you know matters. You need to learn some stuff, but it helps to have people in the industry that you become friends with that can point you in the right direction. Like, work on this or look at this and start playing with this. And then, when it comes to searching for a job, you have people that you can call on for, hey, or do you have a position open, or do you know a place that has a position open, or where should I go from here? Getting that advice from people in the industry is super helpful. And how you meet those people, you go to conferences and you just, make friends. It's probably the best way to start. Another thing would be, if you're in college, internships are critical. Most of the hires that I've seen from colleges, universities have been through internships. So the internship turns into a full-time position. That's critical. Get into those internships. But also, I didn't go to college.
I was just about to ask, I was like, did you go to college? Oh.
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. So in this industry, you also you don't have to go to college. You can, it's kind of a skill-based industry. And so long as you have the skill set and can show that, you can also work in this industry too. You don't have to spend, $100,000 or $200,000 or something at some college or university. Just play around on computers and code and figure out, ways of detecting bad guys or that sort of thing. And you get into the industry. No problem.
I guess now that I know this about you, that you didn't go to college. So did you get your first job like straight out of high school, like at Symantec? Or no, you worked help desk in IT a little bit, but did you do that straight out of high school?
Yeah, I would say maybe that's the challenge with not going to college, is that you have to work these kind of crappy jobs to start off with. Whereas the people who I know who did go through college and did their internships and stuff, they start in the awesome office, job with working directly on the cybersecurity team. Not going to college, I went the other route, which is like just working help desk because I knew how computers worked, and then moving from there to working in a data center as a data center technician, which is, you work in 12-hour shifts, nights and weekends. It's not great, but it's great experience. And then from there went on to network engineering and then into cybersecurity. So I had to work my way up. Whereas if you go to college, you can just kind of drop in with where you want to be. But then the upside is I didn't have any college debt, so there's that.
That's not small potatoes though, right? Because when I think of high school students who didn't go to college, like organically, to me, how do I say this? You're saying it like, oh, I was in help desk. Most people that age are working at like McDonald's or something, and they're happy if they, make it to manager or whatever, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, you were working essentially a desk job, a white collar job, and you were straight out of high school. That's not small. That's not a small accomplishment by any means.
Yeah, well, I was working at a grocery store. I got that first help desk job just by putting my resume out there with tried to make it as awesome as I could, just listing like. And here's what you want to do when you create a resume. You just want to list the most awesome things about you, because when people are interviewing you, they're looking at at your resume, and they tend to use your resume as talking points. Oh, so tell me about this. Tell me about this. So you want your resume to just be how awesome you are, so that when they're interviewing you, they're just asking you about how awesome you are.
I dig that.
And so that's how I do my resumes, and that's how I think I was able to get that first help desk job. I was just talking about how awesome I am with computers, even though I had just been working at a grocery store, so I had no experience.
That's dope. So you worked at a grocery store throughout high school?
Yeah.
This man has layers. He's got layers, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like we need a whole part 2 for this. But
when you are not hacking into things and building things, what do you do to disconnect from the world of cybersecurity or digital machines in total? What do you do
So I would say, I do my hobbies. And my hobby is I'm a racetrack instructor with BMW CCA.
What?
So I instruct people in their cars. So I'm sitting in the passenger seat. They're driving, and we're at a racetrack. The local track found here is Summit Point Motorsport Park. And so, we're doing like 145 miles an hour into turn one, and I'm talking to them about how to get us around the track as fast as possible without killing us both. And I enjoy doing that because it really teaches people like really great driving skills, and they become much better drivers. I suppose the idea is that, if you're doing 145 around the racetrack and I got you doing that in traffic, because there's like 30 or 40 cars on the track at the same time, and we're able to do that safely and fast and at speed, and building up your skill. You go out on the highway and you're doing 65, it's like anything could happen and you'd be ready for it, because that's nothing compared to what you've been learning on. So
we got to send our niece.
I really enjoy that.
We sending our niece to you tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I also instruct at Teen Street Survival. So that's put together by Tire Rack. But if you look it up, I think it's streetsurvival.org. It's where we teach teenagers this, like brand new drivers. We run through that sort of thing at this like closed course, and we have them driving, things that you would normally be scared about doing. Just like driving as fast as you can towards some cones, and then being like, foot to the floor, and then just being like left, right, left, and like they got to make these emergency changes without getting scared about it or anything like that, without hitting cones. And so what ends up happening is they all end up spinning and spinning out and spinning in circles and trying to control this car at this speed that it can't do. But the point is that you do that a bunch of times, you get used to it. At first you're scared, but then if you keep doing it all day long over and over again, then at the end of the day, one, you're able to do it without hitting anything. And two, you're just not worried about it anymore because you've been doing it. You've done it like 100 times at this point at the end of the day. So these kids actually end up coming out of the street survival course as like probably, top 5% drivers on the road, in my opinion, just because they've gone through all this stuff that no one else does. Like usually, the first time you experience a spin in a car is like in an accident, right? You don't want that to be your first time.
That's wild. Yeah, we got somebody to send you. But all right, I think we have to wrap it up actually. So, okay, before we wrap up, I get to say thank you. So, thank you, John. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously, like endless gratitude. Like when I spoke to you, I honestly didn't think you'd be on the podcast because I was like, yo, this dude is going to be the next Elon, Mark, like, and then you ended up being really nice. So that was cool. So thank you. Seriously, endless gratitude. We know that you're a busy guy. And so like, again, I can only continue to extend my appreciation.
No, thanks for having me. No, it's an honor. The honor is mine to be on your podcast. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thanks from me as well. And also, I would like to know if you would like to share your information with our listeners so that they can contact you if they have questions or want to know more about what you're doing. Yeah.
You can contact me on LinkedIn, John Althouse, or on Twitter, 4A4133, and or just email me, john@foxio.io. Yeah, any of those. You can also just Google JA4, and it's the first link, and my email address is there on that page too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're actually wrapping up on time because Anthony's giving us the side eye as usual. All right, well, to our listeners, do I get to do that part?
Yeah, go ahead.
To our listeners, thank you so much again for rocking with us. Like if you enjoyed this episode, which I know I did, go ahead and share it, like and subscribe. I'm not supposed to say that, but like and subscribe. All right, well, until next time, stay wavy. We love y'all.
Take care.